Art imitates life, or life imitates art? That is the question. What we are facing now: fear and panic over a deadly virus, the constant continuing threat of foreign invasions, the endless war in the name of peace and freedom, more government control under the guise of keeping everyone safe, the hate speech from government against those who resist their control, scarcity of resource due to the collective self-inflicted ignorance and limitations, jealousy and fights among the people, the group that haves and the group that have-nots.
On and on are the sufferings of the human story, summed up in the narrative of these energies: fear, hate, scarcity, and jealousy.
The narrative of the human
Condition
has been like this for thousands of years. We are running stuck in a revolving wheel of life.
Humans
Are unaware that their energies is being
consumed,
and they are stuck in this maze of revolving wheels, the rat racing in the maze to their death. Before our very eyes, we watch the screen of our reality. The screen of our reality is the stage of life. The reality show is us being the willing and unwilling actors.
as William Shakespeare quoted, "All the world is a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts." The word stage has several meanings. Stage 1. Story of a building. The platform beneath the gallows. 2. The platform for presentation of a play. 3. The period of development or time in life. 4. Verb. To erect, construct. 5. Verb. To put into a play. 6. Notice this meaning of stage. The period of development or time in life. Quotation. Degree or step on the ladder of virtue, wheel of fortune.
Degree or step on the ladder of virtue, wheel of fortune. Stage in the context of human struggle is a revolutionary wheel of evolutionary or devolutionary.
In consciousness.
Life is a stage. We are watching the movie screen playing before our very eyes, unaware that we are the actors playing the parts. So what parts are we playing, and how are we playing the parts? Are we playing the victims of enslavement, or are we playing the source of power? We write and direct the script, or we read the script and become parts of someone
else's script.
To be or not to be is the question we must ask ourselves. The answer is in our mental state. The answer is in our mental state. The study of the self is the beginning of all wisdom. As a
Human beings.
we are special and above the animals of the earth. We create things with pure imaginations and out of nothingness. We call forth into existence by the simple principle of our thoughts. The principle of mentalism. The all is mind, the universe is mental. Thoughts leads to the manifestations of all things and events in creations. Thoughts create our state of existence and the quality of our experience here on earth. In other words, thoughts are the sparks of everything that creates our state of existence, whether it is intentional or random thoughts. We create our reality, either by default, unconscious will, or by intention, conscious will. Our reality are created from the imprint of our thoughts. We are responsible for our thoughts. Therefore, be responsible for everything you create by being responsible for everything you think. It all begins with the mind. Our thoughts and emotion drive our actions or inactions, result in the behavior that creates our current reality. We are the characters we created into manifestations by what we think about, either to default or to the will of our imagination. The external world reflects our internal world. The principle of correspondence. That which is above is like to that which is below. That which is below is like to that which is above. That which is within is like that which is without. The macrocosm, the totality, and the microcosm, the individual unit of consciousness, which comprise the whole, are reflections of each other. Each of us is a miniature microcosmic universe of its own. Our behaviors in the microcosm are the result of our mental state, what we think and how we feel on an individual basis. As a collective group thinks and feels the same way, our collective actions and inactions result in the creations of a collective behavior that we are co-creating, affecting the outcome of the human condition here on earth, whether it is destructions and turmoil or love and beauty here on earth. Our collective behaviors of the same thoughts drive the energy toward the directions affecting the macrocosm level. In other words, if a mass collective numbers believe in a certain internal delusional state of fear to be true, then that delusional story becomes a behavior manifested into our society. The story of Earth. The external state of the world is a reflection of our internal mental disease. The mental disease of the human conditions are the story of helplessness and victimization. It is a story of low vibrations, the energy of fear, scarcity, jealousy, and hate. Fear, constant fear of some imaginary threat. For example, whether it be the fear of some deadly virus or the threat of war. Scarcity, the narrative of limitations and lack of resource. Jealousy, the divide and conquer technique to keep the population fighting amongst themselves. Hate, the hate speech of government towards those others who do not want to comply with the narrative of control. The government is all about control, and any resistance to their control will result in their hate speech and violence toward any resistant. These global events of low vibrations are not random acts that we have no power to change. How can we change the story of Earth? The art of written language mirrors the nature of the collective mental illnesses or wellnesses of our human condition. Life is a stage. We are all actors playing our parts. Whether we are either the actors following the script of our destiny or the actor writing and directing the script of our destiny. Evil seek to control the narrative of our story. The narrative of evil wants people to believe that life is complex and understanding truth is impossible. If we are stuck in this narrative of evil, we lost all consciousness of truth. Our ability to create new narrative for a better character of our life destiny diminishes. The truth is simple. We are our own characters in the story we create, and together as a collective mind, we are co-creating the story of humanity, the study of the art of the self. The story of the self can affect the outcome of the human conditions. To be or not to be, that is the questions of life. Does art imitate life or does life imitate art? The question, art imitates life or life imitates art. The book 1984, written by George Orwell. It got published in 1949, after the era of World War II. The story narrates a grim look of a dystopian society. The story mirrors our society. The main character in the story, Winston, is an editor in the records department of the governmental office Ministry of Truth, where he actively revised historical records to make the past conform to whatever the party wants it to be. One day, he wakes up and thinks, who controls the past, control the future. Who control the present, control the past. The past is whatever the records and the memories of the characters agree upon. The parties is in full control of all the records of informations. In other words, the party is in full control of the narrative of language. Language creates thoughts, so therefore they are in full control of the minds of its members. The control of the narrative of the past follows that the past is whatever the party chooses to make of it. The thoughts of the member only mimic the narrative of the party. In other words, the character thoughts and memories are not their own, but only an imitation of the party narratives controlled by big brothers. The novel 1984, written with the intentions to warn the world not to let this happen, not to let a diabolical plans to enslave humanity with surveillance technology becoming a reality where there is no privacy and all movements are policed by Big Brother. In the year of 1949, a time when surveillance technology was not yet in existence, the novel 1984 portrays the psychological state of where humanity is at. The state of existence under surveillance technology of how the totalitarian state mind control the masses into the acceptance of their own enslavement. Big Brother is a symbolic of an omnipresent, mysterious force controlling the party. The party doublethink
slogans
are: war is peace, freedom is slavery,
ignorance
is strength. The novel imitates life as it was and is up to our modern era of human conditions. The mindset of the people characters in real life are just as twisted and doublethink as the party characters in the story are. As sad as it is, art in our life is imitating life. The story shows the characters of the party cheering as loud as they can for the ideology of Big Brother to show how devoted they are to the establishment of their slavery. Life as it was in the past is still the present moment, the current conditions of humanity. Just look within us and look around us. The number of people supporting and cheering when the bombs dropped it on a whole entire city of people who are just like us, wanting to live their life like normal people without bothering anyone. The state got you in their narrative of discourse. They got everyone either to debate or to chant their slogan, "War is peace." Just imagine justifying to yourself, it is a necessary evil when the bombs are dropping on your house, killing your children and destroying your livelihood. Just imagine the people supporting the bombing as a collateral damage. People cannot see when they cheer for others' suffering, they are cheering for their own suffering as well as cheering for their own enslavement. Politics is only a stage show to keep the sheeple entertained and confused. The political actors and the celebrity news reporter needs our energy to pay our attention to them because they are writing the script for our society. As we live our lives under the stress of paying our bills, we get mesmerized in their controlled narrative of confusion, fear, scarcity, jealousy, and hate speech. This is the reason why they need us to look at them as the author, the authority writers who scripted our collective life story of the human race to their own whims to affect our society on a macrocosmic level. When we vote for them or support for their leadership over us, we are validating their existence to govern us, and we are validating the existence of government as a necessary evil. The number of participations in the voting process is a feedback on how well they have
entertained us.
For us to give our energy into the system of distractions and confusion. The more we are lost in the narrative of their story, the more chances we are less likely to write and direct our dreams and our true desire for a better world. We are not living our true potential to create beauty in the blueprint of our imaginations. Rather, we are living the script of someone
else's narrative.
We are programmed and conditioned to externalize our power in return for the delusional illusion that the problem of the world are rest in the hands of these public actors on the world stage to solve the problem of our distractions and confusion. As we consent to give away our power, the universe reflects back to us more of what we consent. As we consent to the doublethink programs of perceptions that run deep into the minds and hearts of every character in the story of life, we justify to the universe the continuations of its existence. The inverted perceptions is a reflective of the mind program of the human conditions. Freedom is slavery. Why does every character accept this inverted perceptions of freedom? If we can see the world for what it really is, a caged bird being comfortable living in the cage and unable to see the bars, can we break the program? The program of slavery runs deep into the minds and hearts of the human race. From generations after generations in our collective mind, we are co-creating a false cultural narrative that our freedoms depend on an external authority and not an internal authority that is our inner power. Evils enslave us in a cultural narrative that our freedom and goodness depends on our moral obligations to obey the ruling psychopath, the authority who perceive themselves as the gods and the master class on earth. With disregard for our worth, they command us to behave according to their ideas. The authority as the rulers comes into their history and in different forms of control management. The kings and queens, the governments, the mafia, the state, the big brother, and any form of rulerships over the rights of another sovereign being. These ruling psychopaths are less than 1%, but the 99% of the human race feels it is a duty to obey the ruling psychopath. People obey authority for fear of violence or because culture has conditioned them to obey authority as a proper way of being good. Evil creates false cultural narratives to keep the authority in power. The most successful authorities relies mainly on the strength of the cultural narrative to keep people obedient, so the authority can use less violence. The cultural narrative of 1984 is the love of big brothers as the ultimate authority that control the history, informations, and language. Thought crimes are to keep the character obedience to the cultural narrative of big brother. Ignorance is strength. The characters gives away their mental power to think for themselves is what makes big brothers the all-powerful, omnipresent. The power and strength of all the world governments relied on the ignorance of the masses to follow their orders. The government becomes the authority of writing the script of our life to keep us in servitude to their whims. Thus, our ignorance of the knowledge of our real history and ignorant about who we really are is their strength. The story of 1984 mirrors the real-life narrative of our collective human experience of living under the system of slavery. Big Brother is a symbol of the ruling psychopath that control the narrative of history. Whoever control the narrative of informations and how the narrative of information should be remembered are the ones that control the future to the control of informations. Art imitates life as it is in the past and the present. The doublethink slogan of 1984 reflects the happenings of actual experience of the human conditions. War is peace, freedom is slavery, and ignorance is strength. Reflections on the history lessons of the doublethink. The continuations of bigger and bigger government control will continue to stomp us in the face if we do not learn the lesson from the past, and if we do not understand our history in the present. Thoughts leads to the manifestations of all things and events and creations. If we continue to stay in the mind control program of doublethink, then the universe will allow our society to stay in slavery. Therefore, we must alter the scripted narrative of our current destiny. If we choose to do nothing to alter our mindset, the narrative of how our life should be, and teach others to alter their mindset of how their life should be, then we are doomed to live like those characters lived it in the Orwellian state of 1984. Life imitates art. How does life imitate art? Technology depicted in the 1984 novel did not exist during the year of 1949. But the novel predicts the technological advancement of a surveillance system where in every house and on every street, the technology can track people movement and can spy on every conversations. George Orwell's prophetic novel predicts Big Brother to the use of technology can thought police the entire human race. He warned the human race not to let this happen to the world. Life is imitating art. The script is being played out on our movie screen of life, and we are seeing science fiction movies becoming real life. Why are science fiction movies becoming a reality show? Art is being used to condition the human race to accept these technology and the enslavement of humanity as an unstoppable event of life that most people will believe they have no power to stop. With the control of information and historical record, we are conditioned to see the abnormal behaviors as the normal way of life. This is how life is imitating art. If these advanced technologies of science fictions exist in movies, more likely than not, they will be introduced to the world, and more likely than not, These technologies have already been created in the secret underground bases, waiting for the right time to come out. It is all part of the agenda to control and to push humanity toward a technocrat society, where artificial intelligence, AI, will be the next big brother, the technocratic police state. Technology is neutral. The technology tools can be used for good or evil. The tools can empower humanity towards freedom and can lead humanity toward a utopian society of abundance, where technology and artificial intelligence, AI, can do all the manual work, freeing up our time to meditate, to invent, and to create beauty in the world. On the opposite side, AI can be used to enslave humanity. That is what we are facing right now in our current conditions. The war is the ongoing war of our mind to be embedded deeper and deeper into a technocratic society under the control of artificial intelligence. Everyone's actions are tracked, and our thoughts are controlled by AI to the hive minds of the Internet of all things. Thought crimes will be the new normal under the control of the narrative of Big Brother. As the events of today unfold, life is imitating art. The best way to predict the future is to create it. How did the novel 1984 become so prophetic? George Orwell was able to get an inside glimpse of the dark agenda for humanity. The dark plan of enslaving humanity in a technocrat state moved it forward. As the human race sat back idly like sheep and got distracted with watching the screen of their reality show playing out and entertaining themselves, they are unaware of the dark reality of the technocratic state closing in on them. Who are these dark occultists who knew about these underground technologies not yet
existent in Orwell's times
that are manipulating humanity toward the direction of enslavement through the use of artificial intelligence technology? Who are these dark psychopaths behind the curtain manipulating the world to keep us in darkness and thrive on the suffering of human existence? The enemies of humanity. On the world stage for the eyes to see, the parasitic psychopaths are the governments, the politicians, the bloodline of kings and queens, the corporations, the bankers, the multi-billionaires, the religious leader, the celebrity, and so on. It seems that they are running the show on the global theaters as they read the script and play out their parts. But behind the curtain, the Dark Lords pull the string. Who are the Dark Lords? In ancient texts, in different cultures and time in history, they call these dark beings demigods, archons, demons, Satan, devil, jinx, dark angels, reptilians, monster, etc.
In modern times,
They are called the Illuminati, the globalists,
the Cabal,
the cult, the reptilian, the interdimensional beings, the off-world beings, extraterrestrial, the great alien, the dark spirit possessing artificial intelligence, etc. Wait, dark spirit possessing AI? This subject alone needs to be addressed more in depth in a future video. This manipulations of the world has not just happened for 100 years. This evil has been going on for thousands of years to the control of history. The false narratives of what are the true reality. The cultural programming and the establishment erecting institutions to obfuscate the truth. The establishments operate through secret society. They change to different names through time. Government, a well-organized master class of parasitic psychopath, always seek to be the authority of the human race.
The word government means to mind control. It is etymologically originated from the ancient Latin language. It splits into two words, 1. Governance, meaning to control, and 2. Mens or mentis, meaning mind.
Authority always place demands on people by violence, and always seek to have ownership over the rights of the human body, mind, and soul. The mind control of being obedient to the authority is so deeply embedded in our mind, cultures, and institutions that most of us cannot see that we are living in a police state and accepting slavery without knowing the difference of what it feels like and looks like to live our lives as a free sovereign being without the false religions of government to control our everyday activity. In the age of internet, information is available and accessible within the reach of our fingertip. And if we desire, we can understand humanity's conditions and realize the truth is simple. The parasitic psychopath and the dark demonic force directing the world stage are weak. They are less than 1%. They create false ideas to hide the truth. Once we realize our power, we are a force not to be reckoned with. When we stand united in our power and stop supporting and doing the action that leads to evil result in the world. It does not matter if these dark beings or the governments have advanced weapons. They rely on us as a collective group to do evil to each other. This is the reason why they continue to recruit willing people to be their agents of the state. It is the sheep or human that are doing the evils to other human beings. Freedom is not out there or waiting for a savior to rescue us from our self-inflicted choice. Freedom is within our hands to attain it. Evil is about the destructions of freedom. The choice is within our hands to let it happen or not happen. Why do we continue to allow evil to manipulate us into accepting our own enslavement? Why do we want to be manipulated into doing evil to ourselves and to others? Knowing the why of things. The principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect, and every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to laws. Chance is but a name for laws not recognized. There are many planes of causations, but nothing escapes the law. There is no free will to ignore laws without consequence. That is the limit of free will. Without knowing the why, we have no power to change anything, and we will continue to stay in ignorance, fear, and slavery. No one can change anything being in a state of ignorance and apathy. To understand the root problem and how to solve it, one has to look into the causal root of the symptoms at its core and examine the problem at that level. Most people solve the problem at the effect level of understanding. Either they are reactionary or they band-aid the symptom. The deep-rooted problem still remains. Every effect has a cause, and every cause results in an effect. Most people would say no to the existing evil in the world. They want freedom instead of tyranny. But their actions would be in direct contradiction to what they say they want to see. They would continue on their path of contributing to the existing evil, or they would continue to do nothing to stop evil because they are too concerned with their me lives. Our actions of complying with evil is the root cause of why evil continues to manifest into the world. We are the 99% of the world. We can end slavery on earth by our non-compliance, by our exiting the system, and by educating others that their natural rights come from the creator of the universe. Man-made laws are artificial ideas created by evil to restrict our freedom of consciousness and our infinite worth.
Man-made laws are arbitrary, meaning they change with times and whims of whoever the ruling psychopaths are.
These fictional laws relies on violence and duress to control and to enforce. In the natural world of creations, the principle of rights and wrong, the natural laws of creations are innate in the hearts of everyone and do not require violence to enforce. Why do we comply with evil so that evil can control our mind and destroy our freedom? Our external world reflects our internal world. The reason for the contradictions of the mental state is because most people are liars to themselves. They would refuse to reflect upon their history of behaviors and admit to themselves how their behaviors are contributing to the evils that plagues humanity. The external state is a reflection of our internal mental disease. Most people are trapped in their mental illness, their delusional reality which they think is the truth. They have strong attachment to the story of their limitations and the story that evil has written for the destiny of earth. They live their lives in a trance-like state of awareness, going along with the flow, relying on an external savior like a political leader or religious figure to solve their problem of self-infliction.
They refuse to look within their higher self for the will to be the source of scripting their narrative of destiny, and the source of creating a new narrative to delete the narrative of self-inflicted suffering that programmed their perception of reality, which result in the destiny that they are seeing in the world.
This is a collective mental illness that most people do not respect their higher self, and they do not respect others' rights to be free. This is the conditions of humanity. People are too mesmerized and comfortable with their lives as a caged bird, and so they lack the courage to stand up for the truth because they have deep-rooted fear of losing their attachment to what they have established, whether it be a concept or a thing, and they have deep-rooted fear of the unknown. The story of attachment to physical things. People have deep-rooted fear of losing their life comfort of what they are familiar with, their material possessions and their familiarity connections to other beings, whether they are humans or animals. The story of attachment to the concept of their identity, the conditions of a false belief system that they hold to be true, and that false belief system becomes the story of their life, the ego. This is us in the belief system appearing as true. A belief system is called religion. Evil uses religions to create a culture of socially accepted propriety and public goods to obfuscate the truth. The etymology of obfuscations, obfuscate.
1. To darken, obscure, confuse, bewilder. From Latin obfuscatus, to darken. Obfuscation. 2. The act of obscuring, the darkening of a sore. From Latin obfuscationem, to darken.
In regards to evil, obfuscations is the creations of false belief system in order to hide, to disguise, to confuse, and to control the truth with mixing the lies. Religions.
The etymology of the word religion is from the Latin verb religare, to tie back, to hold back, to thwart from forward progress, to bind.
For thousands of years, evil have established cultural religions to keep people in the dark and disconnect them from truth, the true spirituality of who they really are. Evil creates a culture of obedience to authority in the name of propriety and of purported virtues. They destroy freedom and control people's mental state. Religious institutions are established to control the narrative of human mental state. The 7 religious mainstream institutions are cultural religions, governments, media, educations, banking, monetary system, healthcare, and science. These institutions exist to suppress the human spirit and to control the human body, mind, and soul. These mainstream institution systems are like invisible prison wall that locks our energy into a prison box. These institutions obfuscate the truth with mixing truth and lies. Thus, they create the mental state of confusions and suffering. The disease of the outer state of the world is only a reflection of our inner state of disease of the mental state. The English writer David Icke once says, "The greatest form of control is when you think you are free, when you are being fundamentally manipulated and dictated to. One form of dictatorships is being in a prison cell and you can see the bars and touch them. The other one is sitting in a prison cell and you cannot see the bars and you think you are free. People are programmed to put their faith and livelihood in these institutions. These institutions police the thoughts and actions of their sheeple. Evil is to keep people in mental suffering, fear programming, delusional reality, and denial of what is true. The denial of what is true. The subject of these institutions need to be addressed more in depth in a future video. The truth is simple. The truth is simple. Our external world reflects our internal world. The external state of the current human condition is a reflection of our internal mental disease. To heal our inner world is to go back to our birthright in the natural world, the spiritual law of creation. Reflect within our soul, becomes grounded within the world of nature, be strong within our hearts to the lights of love, and be present in the moment to create changes. It's our birthright to claim ownership of our natural gift that is already present within our soul, our eternal beingness, the soul of who we really are. We are more than our attachment to the physical body and things of this earth. Imaginations. The truth is simple to understand. The narrative of evil makes you believe. It is complex to understand. Do not let evil write the story of your destiny. If you do not like what you see in the external world, then go within yourself, reflect on your personal history, be honest with the self, acknowledge the good and the bad that you have put out into the world. Be an observer of your history and look into the mirror of your character. Use your imaginations, write the story of your character and destiny that you want to see in the world. Take actions and step into the narrative to be the creator of change that you want to see. The world is a stage. You are the character of your life destiny. So therefore, step into your power. Be the source of change. Will you be the creator of change? The world is a stage. To be or not to be is the question you must answer to your higher self. Use your imaginations. Write the story of your character and destiny that you want to see in the world. Take actions and step into the narrative to be the creator of change that you want to see. The world is a stage. You are the character of your life destiny. So therefore, step into your power. Be the source of change. Will you be the creator of change? The world is a stage. To be or not to be is the question you must answer to your higher self.